right. Good afternoon to all of the webinar attendees. I'm glad that your team could join us today. Looking forward to the agenda that we've got planned. Definitely a lot to share. Let me just go ahead and start by walking through a couple of introductions in regards to who we are, who's on the team from Smarter Commerce, and then we'll dive into what our time together is going to look like. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, Zoom allows for you to submit those questions via the Q&A option on your tab there for the session. We'd love to get questions throughout the webinar, and then our team is going to be answering the webinar, answering the questions throughout the session. So with that said, I'll go ahead and walk over our agenda. We've got Fermin Rodriguez, our Managing Director, Diego Fernandez, Director of Product, and myself, an account executive, also the sales manager. Again, looking forward to what we've got today on our agenda. I'll spend a little bit of time talking over who we are as an organization, who is Smarter Commerce. We'll focus in our discussion on our payments solution, which is really the subject of today's webinar. And then the vast majority of our time is going to be invested in the actual demonstration portion of our agenda. So let's start with some really broad question. Who is Smarter Commerce? As an organization, we've been around for 30 years. As a matter of fact, April of this year is our 30-year anniversary. And all 30 of those years, we've been partnering with JD Edwards customers as a consulting organization. And then today, obviously, as the developers of the Smarter Commerce product family. Throughout the years, we've implemented JD Edwards, completed JD Edwards projects, developed for JD Edwards well over 500 times. Again, ample experience in that space. As an organization, we're based in Miami, Florida, but we've got a network of professionals working all across the US, as well as an office of developers in San Jose, Costa Rica. And as I mentioned, although our history is in the consulting space for JD Edwards, really as of 20 years, we've been focusing on developing the Smarter Commerce product family. With really a focus on helping JD Edwards companies launch successful projects in the retail, e-commerce, and as we'll talk about today, the payment space, specifically by uniting their commerce systems and their ERP into one simple and automated system. See, over the years, what we came to realize was that a lot of tech and business leaders are looking to launch payment projects, but really encounter challenges focused around a lack of connection, specifically a lack of connection around your JD Edwards and all of the payment systems that are in the marketplace. Mainstream virtual terminals, gateways, processors, so on and so forth. They just aren't connected to JD Edwards. What this means is that sometimes tech and business leaders are just feel overwhelmed. They've got this really big need to accept credit cards as a form of payment, but they don't really feel like they have the right resource or the right platform to succeed. And when you try and understand, hey, what does it take to integrate one of these payment systems to JD Edwards, typically it's a very costly project. So what Smarter Commerce has done is that we have created a connected commerce platform, connected payment platform that enables your team to conquer the complexity of accepting credit cards and ACH payments over or through JD Edwards so that your team can now focus on growth. This is just a quick snapshot of some of our customers. I know that we've got some customers in the webinar. Glad to have you. Obviously, this is not a complete list of all of our customers. A couple things to note about this family of logos here. Number one, they're all JD Edwards customers. Number two, there's a broad range of industries and different sized organizations represented. Customers as large as $25 billion in annual revenue, all the way down to in the $100 million annual revenue range. Again, big mix of industries, big mix of sizes. The other thing that all these customers have in common is that all of them at one point felt overwhelmed because of a new project that did not have ERP connection, meaning they needed an easy way, an automated way to process credit cards within JD Edwards, but just didn't find the right solution. After partnering with Smarter Commerce, they were able to successfully launch this credit card initiative and be in a position to be an industry leader. So we know who Smarter Commerce is. If we ask the question, what is Smarter Commerce? We also like to say that Smarter Commerce is a family of solutions that help companies launch successful commerce, payment, and retail projects through a simple automated system that connects with JD Edwards. Now, as you can see in this slide, really the core At the core of smarter commerce philosophy is this centrality around JD Edwards. JD Edwards as the single source of truth when it comes to your business processes and business data. In addition to our payment processing solution, which is going to be the focus of today's webinar, we also have an e-commerce solution, which is a fully functional B2B and B2C digital commerce platform with all the capabilities that are industry standard and then some. We also have a retail solution for JD Edwards companies that are looking to transact in a retail setting. We also have a call center management solution, and we also have a connector to the Avalara AvaTax sales tax compliance platform. Obviously, we work with Vertex, and we support JD Edwards tax tables. We just offer JD Edwards customers a third alternative through our connector to Avalara AvaTax. That being said, let's talk very quickly about payments. This webinar is going to be focused on how JD Edwards companies can automate their payments and reduce the day sales outstanding, or DSO, for outstanding invoices. How can you help accept credit card payments in an automated fashion? And how can you help customers pay invoices on a quicker basis? What Smarter Commerce has done is that we have created a payment processing application with a native JD Edwards user experience. What we mean by that is that when your customer service reps are on the phone with your customer and they're about to place an order, a sales order, they can now have the option to pay with a credit card. They can process this credit card using the Smarter Commerce application, again, natively within JD Edwards. They don't have to go anywhere else, and obtain a valid authorization with a customer's credit card. Now, there's a variety of ways to accept a customer credit card. First and foremost, a customer can obviously dictate the credit card number over the phone. A customer can also have a credit card on file, meaning that it's stored or vaulted within the payment gateway, connected to Smarter Commerce, so that they don't have to list out their credit card every single time. Or a customer service rep can authorize a new credit card using our authorized by email or authorized by text functionality. You'll see all of this in the demo. Additionally, Smarter Commerce allows for a processor flexibility, which means that your team can go into the marketplace and find the best processing rates out there, and then bring that to Smarter Commerce, and we can connect our payment gateway to that leading processor. That being said, on the sales order side, we also support an integration to a payment terminal, meaning if you've got customers that are walking up to your counter and you're using JD Edwards as the sales order entry interface, we also support integration to an actual physical payment device so that customers can chip and pin a credit card and complete a transaction, again, all automated within JD Edwards. Additionally, our payment processing application can also integrate to third-party platforms, including other e-commerce platforms. So in terms of automating payments, Smarter Commerce at the core allows your customer service team to not leave JD Edwards, stay within JD Edwards, accept that credit card payment in the seamless, natural flow of your existing sales order process, but also provide customers the option to pay with a credit card. In terms of accelerating invoice payments, we do this by leveraging our payment application on the invoice payment side. Again, you're dealing with a native JD Edwards user interface. Your accounts receivable department doesn't have to go to a third-party tool. A customer can call in and say, hey, I'd like to pay XYZ invoice for $1,000. They can do that invoice payment using a credit card. They can also do that invoice payment using an ACH transaction. And then Smarter Commerce also has a functionality called Invoice Pay by Email, which is essentially an automated set of emails that will send out once a week, twice a week. You determine that to all of your customers, reminding them of the invoices that they have due for that month or for the next 30 days, 60 days, so on and so forth. This diagram kind of illustrates what that looks like. JD Edwards will send an email or a text to your customer. That email will contain an encrypted, personalized payment link. When they click on that, they're brought to the Smarter Commerce invoice payment page, where they're presented all of the detailed information for the invoices that are due, and then given the option to pay those invoices with a credit card or with an ACH a transaction. The benefit here is that you don't have to do anything. These emails are automated, your customers will receive them, and they can walk through an invoice payment process all by themselves, prompted by Smarter Commerce as an automated system. Additionally, we also provide customers the option to launch a digital payment portal, which is essentially an actual web portal, a website where customers will input their credentials, log in, and then view all of the invoices that are due, and then complete invoice payment transactions, again, using credit cards on file, a new credit card, ACH, accounts that have been stored on file, so on and so forth. A helpful way of thinking about e-payments is sort of an online extension of all of these invoice payment capabilities, including some additional account management capabilities. Now, obviously, every time we talk about payments and credit card information, it's critical to remember that security needs to be number one. Smarter Commerce from the ground up has been architected to simplify PCI compliance for your team and prioritize security. Now, what we mean by that is that we tokenize all of the sensitive cardholder data, things like the actual card number, the expiration date of the card, or the name of the cardholder, so on and so forth, is all tokenized and stored not at the Smarter Commerce level, definitely not at the JD Edwards level, but at the payment gateway level. That is where the actual credit card information is stored and tokenized. Additionally, through the Smarter Commerce Cloud offering, we provide all of the required hardware in order for your team to process credit card payments. For some of those retail scenarios that we talked about earlier in the session, we also support point-to-point encrypted card readers in case that is a requirement for your team. So with that said, I've kind of provided here a conceptual framework, if you will, for Smarter Commerce payments. What we'll do right now is transition to the demonstration portion of our agenda. Diego Fernandez is going to walk us through a series of different scenarios, all of them within JD Edwards Enterprise One and Smarter Commerce. You'll see us interacting in a test JD Edwards environment. And again, he'll walk through a series of scenarios on the sales order side and also on the invoice payment side. And the idea here is that all of these capabilities that we're showing you guys today combined can help your organization automate credit card payments on the sales order side, and then on the invoice payment side, help accelerate some of those invoice payments from your customers using these variety of capabilities. So with that said, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Diego, you should have the ability to share your screen. And go ahead and take it away. We're looking at your screen just to confirm.
Well, thank you, Jerry, and welcome to everyone on the webinar. As Jerry mentioned, I'm here sharing my screen, and I'm working in a demonstration JD Edwards 9.2 environment. And we'll be walking through a series of scenarios to get a view into the functionality that we deliver with our payment solution. It's important also to note that our solution works with all of the release 9s, 9.0, 9.1, and obviously 9.2 of JD Edwards. And we have several customers, even in some earlier releases of JD Edwards still in use. So let's begin framing our first scenario. I'm going to walk through a complete order to cash process for this first scenario, where we have a customer calling into your call center, and they routinely pay with a credit card, where you gain an authorization during the order entry process. And then later, once you've shipped the product, we'll go and what's called settlement or capturing of funds, which actually does the charging of the credit card to the customer's card. So let's begin by entering a sales order within the JD Edwards environment. And we'll utilize, obviously, the sales order entry screen, the order header of JD Edwards here, where you key in the customer number. If the customer requires a PO number, you would key that in, basically keying in all of the relevant information for the sales order header. And once complete, you would click on Save and Continue, will then drive you to the items or products that that customer is desiring to purchase, whatever that is. Again, as the customer service rep, you would go through and add in all of those products. And then once ready, you as the sales order entry person would click either the submit and enter new button or submit and close. But either one, because this customer routinely pays with a credit card, will drive the customer service representative to a new application to enter in all of the credit card information related to this order. It's here that we want to authorize funds while we have the customer on the phone against their credit card, so that later in the process, once we've shipped the product, we can go ahead and do what's called the capturing of funds. So let's review a little bit about this application for those of you on the call, so you get an understanding of some of the capabilities that you'll have available to you during this process. Obviously, up here in the top right-hand corner, you see the order that we're entering and the customer information. And then right below is what we call the address related to address verification services. Address verification services verifies the billing address associated to the credit card that the customer is desiring to use. This gives you a capability to be able to validate that the information matches what's out there against the issuing credit card bank. This is an optional feature. It is recommended. But again, if you want to validate that information, you can key it in here. As you can see, it defaulted in information from the JD Edwards address book to more quickly be able to verify that information and then attempt to validate it. Over to the right, you'll see a running total of the order, all of the products being subtotaled, any sales tax that JD Edwards has calculated or Vertex has calculated through the sales tax processes. And then we give you a capability that is rather unique to our solution, which we term the uplift of the authorization. Normally used for things like freight or handling fees that are added in later in the process. Since this is only an authorization, we want to be able to authorize the full amount plus any additional charges that you may be adding later in the process to make sure that you're covered. So this is an accepted practice. It allows you to uplift that authorization so that later we can settle the actual amounts. So right now we have an order total here that we're going to authorize of $756.59. But as you can see, we also have a capability which I have turned on for this environment of being able to do what's called a credit card surcharge. So a credit card surcharge is a pass-through of your processor fees. It is dependent on your state in which you work in. There are different rules, but you configure those rules within our solution so that the appropriate percentage is passed through to the end customer, uplifting again their credit card charge for that surcharge. So in total, we're going to authorize $775.50, which includes the product tax, an uplift for possible freight charges to be added later, and then the credit card surcharges on top of that. Now, we have multiple ways to authorize a credit card. We can do what's called authorization with credit cards on file. We have a capability that allows you to store the credit card on file at the PayCloud Payment Services Gateway. And they tokenize that credit card and return that token back to you so that we can store it within your JD Edwards. And then that way you can later use that credit card on file to authorize sales orders in the future. So this way you can capture a card out on the payment gateway, tokenize it, save that token as part of the order, and then be able to use that in future orders. That's one way that you can authorize a credit card. Another way is to what we call authorize by message. This gives you the capability of sending an encrypted email to the customer or a text to the customer's cell phone where they can click on the link either via the email or the text that they receive and be driven to a hosted payment page where they can enter their credit card information and authorize funds. But let's, for this transaction, utilize the authorize with new card. This is assuming that I have obviously the customer still on the phone, and they're going to read their card information off to me so that I can enter it into the hosted payment functionality. You may notice that we temporarily moved the CSR out of JD Edwards, and they're now in a hosted payment page that is offsite in the Pay Cloud. And here, your CSR would enter the credit card information that the customer is reading off to you. Now here, I'm going to use a test MasterCard with expiration date 11/23 and card security code 123. Now, the card security code is optional, but is highly recommended, and that is that 3 or 4-digit code that you normally and typically find on a credit card in order to validate that card is in the possession of that customer. So once I've entered in all of the valid information, as the CSR would click the apply button, which will then go ahead and validate the card plus authorize the funds on that card. And if everything is successful, it'll return the appropriate messaging back to the CSR so that it can continue the sales order process. If by some chance it's declined, that information will appear to the CSR in this area, allowing the CSR to take action on that transaction, either attempting a new card or correcting maybe a typo upon entry of that card information. But here we do have a successful transaction, so I can return back to my JD Edwards screen, and all I need to do here is return the tokenized information back to JD Edwards so that I can go ahead and save my order to JD Edwards. So as you can see, a very simple process to the CSR. They walk through, they had that customer on the phone, they put in the products, they entered the credit card information, and we went ahead and authorized the funds. Now let's do a second sales order here for this same customer. But in this example, what we're going to do is what we call authorized by message. And we're going to go ahead and send an email to the customer so that they can enter the credit card information instead of the CSR entering that credit card information. So here we put in our products that the customer is desiring. Again, we'll hit submit and close, which will drive us to the credit card screen where I can go ahead and validate the information. And then this time, because the customer desires to enter in that credit card information themselves, we'll go ahead and click on Authorized by Message, which will then drive the user to an application where it provides all of the emails associated to the customer on file within the Who's Who. Now, if they don't appear here, I can add them right here on this line. But if they appear, then I can go ahead and select that email to send out the communication to and the encrypted email message. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and save my order. At this point, I'm done with the customer, meaning there's nothing else for me to do. The email's been sent to the customer and waiting for them to enter the information. So what happens in between, if we go and we inquire on our orders here that we've just processed, we'll see a couple of orders that are waiting here. Here's our first order we did. You'll notice that it's not on a hold code, but here is the last order we did, which is on a hold code. And this C2 hold in my environment represents that we're waiting on the end customer to provide us their credit card information. In the meantime, the customer receives an email that'll look something like this, again, branded with your colors, your information, verbiage, whatever you desire. And the customer would receive it, validate that everything looks correct, obviously validate their order number, validate the amount due. They go ahead and click on Pay Now, which will then take them to a screen that allows them to authorize funds while they type in the credit card information themselves. This is a hosted payment page where they can verify all of the details here. Here is my order totals. Here's the surcharge that is going to be authorized on my card. Here's my billing address that if I need to correct, I can go ahead and edit here. Here's my order information, and down below are the products that I ordered. This allows your end customer to verify the order, verify everything is accurate, and then go ahead and enter their credit card information in order to authorize the funds necessary against this card. This allows you to completely externalize all of the entry of credit card information, where your CSRs no longer would hear any credit card information. By doing it this way, it allows you to your customers to gain faith in your process and be able for them to enter in their credit card information into a hosted payment page. This hosted payment page is branded to your company standards, colors, logos, and so on, so that they, again, have confidence in the process of entering in and applying their credit card against the order. So they would enter their credit card information, they would click apply, which validates the card information, and if everything is verified, they can go ahead and process the authorization against their card. Once they've processed it, they get a message basically that everything is good, and on their side, they're done. Now, obviously, the customer has entered that information out in the payment portal, and now we need to update the JD Edwards system. So we have a process that you would set in your scheduler. This process should run however often you desire, depending on your volumes. Most customers run it maybe once an hour. Some customers run it as much as once every 15 minutes. And it basically retrieves all of the authorized by email or by message payments that were done by customers. It's a UBE that goes out to the hosted payment page and retrieves those payments and auto applies them back to the sales orders. So if I go ahead and execute our UBE here, it'll go ahead and process. And if you recall, our order was on C2 hold, but if I refresh my screen here, we'll notice that it's no longer on C2 hold. It's now been released off of hold, again, because the customer entered in their credit card information in the hosted payment page. We retrieved that payment and we applied that payment to the actual order itself. So if I go out to credit card processing information here, we can see that we have an authorization for $601.16. And here is the tokenized transaction ID. So now this order can go ahead and complete the process, walk through the rest of the order to cash process. We have an authorization on file for both an order that we just entered manually while the customer was on the phone, and a second order where we've gone ahead and allowed the customer themselves to enter the credit card information. So let's walk through the process of pick, pack, and ship here real quick for our two orders, 8573 and 8574. So we'll go ahead and select our orders here and enter them in for 8573 and 8574 to process them through the typical order to cash process. In this case, my first step in my order to cash process is to run pick slips so that my warehouse can obviously pick the product and go ahead and ship the product. And then my second step, once it's been picked and verified, is that they'll go ahead and do shipment confirmation for the two orders that are waiting on shipment confirmation. And as part of my shipment confirmation process, the JD Edwards confirm shipment application has the capability of adding additional lines to my order for things like freight, handling fees, or other reprice type fees that you may add into that order in order to deliver it. So here I'm going to go ahead and mimic that process by adding a freight line to my order for the products that I am shipping. So I'm adding in $28 of freight in this order. And if I call up my other order, we'll go ahead and also add in some freight to this order. So this again is confirming my order shipment within standard applications of JD Edwards, and confirming and adding some freight costs and delivery costs to my orders. All right, my orders have now been entered and shipped confirmed. If I refresh my order statuses here, we see our orders. Here's our first order. It has 3 lines, including the freight line. All of our orders are at status 569, which in my environment means ready for settlement. And it's here that I will execute a UBE delivered with the Smarter Commerce solution that will select all of the orders that are ready for settlement and go out and now capture the funds to actually charge the credit card for this order. So I'm going to go ahead and data select my order here that we're working with to just select those specific orders. And it's 85, 73, and 74. And we'll go ahead and process these orders through settlement now. Now, the settlement report is a key report for both accounting purposes and also for collections purposes, because it's here that we're charging the credit card. So if I go into the credit card settlement report and view the actual PDF, this is a PDF that should be delivered and provided to your accounting department so that they know how much money they're going to be receiving typically the next day from their merchant processor into the merchant bank account. So here are my 2 orders, 85.73 and 85.74, and the total that was charged on each credit card, along with the tokenized ID and the last 4 digits of that card. So as you can see, it's a fully automated process from beginning to end, as long as you capture and authorize funds accurately up front and have a credit card on associated to that order with an authorization. We will then take the process through automatically all the way through charging the card during the settlement process. So here I've gone ahead and done that. The card has been settled. And if I return back to my orders here and inquire on my orders that we've just entered, we'll now see that my order statuses have moved to 580, which in my case, 580 represents invoicing. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll quickly invoice the orders and do the sales update as part of my order processing here, so that we can take the process all the way through cash collections. So let's enter in our 2 orders, 85, 73, and 4. And we'll go ahead and I'll give it just a moment to generate invoices. Now, as part of the invoicing process in JD Edwards, and this again is optional, when you print the invoice PDFs, you have the capability of letting the customer know that this invoice has already been prepaid, that you provided a credit card and that that credit card has been settled. So here is our first order, 85.73. Here is our line items to our order, and here is our order total. But you'll, along with tax, comes out to 740.18, and you'll notice here the prepaid amount capability of 740.18, and the same occurs for this second order. And again, total amount of 567.51, prepaid amount of 567.51. This allows you to print on the invoice that those amounts have been prepaid so that they know. A lot of customers will even show the last 4 digits of the card, which you're allowed to, so for their customers' references. So let's go ahead and run the sales update process. And as you know, the sales update will create the accounts receivable record, we'll post sales into the sales ledger, and we'll go ahead and do all of the accounting. So here we're selecting again our orders that we're working with, and we'll go ahead and process these orders through sales update. We'll give it just a moment. And as you're aware, what sales update will create the invoice record in the customer ledger of that customer. So if I go over right now and inquire on sales order 8573, we'll notice that an invoice has been generated and posted to AR, and it's currently in open status. The reason it's in open status still is because we haven't yet run what's called the Smarter Commerce payment posting capability, which is this step here. So this UBE will take all of the settlements and auto apply the payments directly to the accounts receivable, clearing the accounts receivable and moving the monies normally to a due from merchant bank account. It's waiting on payment from the merchant bank the next day. So we're going to go ahead and run this UBE. Typically, customers run this UBE in the nightly scheduler so that they can go ahead and pull all the settlement transactions and auto apply them to the open AR invoices. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll give this just a moment to process. And as this processes, again, you can see how automated the entire solution is from beginning to end, so that the focus should be just on capturing the credit card information and authorizing those funds up front. And now that I've run the payment post, if I refresh my screen here, you'll notice that the open amount has now been cleared, the transaction has been closed. And if I go into receipt details associated to this transaction, it will reflect that this invoice was paid via a credit card, MasterCard ending in all 4s, and the payment has been applied and moved into a due from merchant bank, awaiting the funding from your merchant bank account. So very quickly, we just walked through a complete order to cash process, allowing you to capture that credit card information quickly and accurately right up front, authorize funds, and the rest of the process is automated for you. A couple of additional points here that because of time, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate, but want to highlight is we have other capabilities around back order releases. We also have batch authorization capabilities. If you get in orders in EDI or mass update of orders, we can batch authorize transactions. So we have a lot of different capabilities that our solution can handle, and a lot of different scenarios that our solution can handle through our processes. All right, let's talk a little bit more now about collections. A lot of times we've found that our customer base has their customers are mostly B2B type customers, where they invoice, create sales orders and invoice on terms against credit limit. And then later, 30 days, 45 days later, the customer is desiring to pay for these orders via a credit card. Here we have a series of processes designed around the accounts receivable collections capability, allowing you to more quickly collect and reduce your days sales outstanding, so to be able to get cash in the bank to be used for other capabilities. So here you can, if a customer calls in and they want to clear off some open AR invoices, we have an application that allows you to view open AR invoices for a particular customer and select them for payment and process and charge a credit card for those specific invoices, clearing off those invoices. So here I can go ahead and select the various line items that a customer wants to pay. And then upon return to the previous screen, we can go ahead and validate the information. In addition, if you allow partial payments, your accounting person can even update the amount to apply here, which automatically updates the total amount to be charged to the credit card. Now, this customer does not have credit card surcharge fees to be applied. And again, we see here multiple capabilities to charge your credit card. Now, you may notice that it says charge a credit card and not authorize a credit card. And that is because that is exactly what we're doing. We are charging the card. We have already provided the product, we've invoiced the product, and we're now just doing a collections exercise. So we don't need to go through an authorization and then settlement process. We're going to do it all in one step. And here we're going to go ahead and charge, in this case, a new card that is going to be read off to me by the customer. So here I would go ahead and type in whatever the card information, in this case, we'll use a test Visa card. For this payment of invoices, we see the total that's going to be charged and the customer information. Once all of that is correct, we click the apply button, which validates the card, and if everything is good, goes ahead and charges the credit card automatically. And then all I need to do is come back and again retrieve the payment and token information back to JD Edwards. And then once I've done that, save my transaction to clear off those AR invoices. So this application allows you to collect against open AR invoices. We have both applications for collections in both the credit card area and also ACH payment areas. If your customer desires to do a wire transfer of funds from their bank account to your bank account, we also have applications that allow you to do that, where you can submit for an ACH transfer for payment against open AR invoices. And again, because of time, I won't be able to get into the details of that, but it's very similar to credit card. In this case, you're requesting an ACH transfer from their bank account and routing number that they needs to provide you. And then that will pull those funds to pay off those invoices back to your bank account. Let's talk a little bit about some other capabilities that we have around the collections management capabilities. We also have a complete reminder system to customers where we can send an email reminding customers of invoices that are already due or coming due and require payment. This reminder system goes through, you set up different versions for your customers, and you can then review the open invoices that you have on file. And as they are coming due based on parameters and settings that you've already established, it will go ahead and send an email out to the customer reminding them of certain invoices that are requiring payment. So here, I ran this earlier. We'll go ahead and look at this now. And here is the payment request that I received, that I sent earlier. You see again, it would be branded to your company specifications, your company logo, your verbiage that you want on here. It also will let the customer know that they have 2 invoices that are coming due, the due date of those invoices, and the total on those invoices. The customer would receive this on obviously their computer, their laptop or desktop, or on their phone, and they can go ahead and click on the Pay Now button, which takes them to a payment portal. This payment portal will be branded to your company specifications for logo, colors, and fonts, so that the customer has comfort in what they're working with and seeing, they would go ahead and select the invoices that are now due and go through the process of entering the credit card information or ACH, or if they want to use one of our alternative payment options, such as PayPal or Venmo, or even Apple Pay or Google Pay, which we support, they can also do that. But here again, we'll use a credit card. We'll come here and we'll put in our credit card information. In this case, I'll use a Test MasterCard. And then once complete, put in my expiration date, my card security code, and so on. Even from here, I can go ahead and save my credit card information. So it'll save back to JD Edwards so that in the future, it'll be stored as a credit card on file that's been tokenized, and I can go through and use it for future orders and not even have to go through this process. So here, once I've entered, as a customer, I would click on apply. Once it's been verified, I can go ahead and process my payment. And that will then charge my credit card for these invoices that I have been reminded were coming due. And then back in JD Edwards, we would again schedule this report that retrieves customer payments from the Pay Cloud. So every time these customers make payment, they would go ahead and this UBE will pull these payments and apply them automatically against your accounts receivable system. Most customers run this UBE again about once an hour. Some customers run it as often as every 15 minutes to maintain that information up to date. But basically, this allows you to pull those payments and apply them automatically. Now, we've taken this capability of the reminder system even a step further. We also have an auto pay system. This allows you to set up auto pay rules for your customers. And once an invoice hits that auto pay rule, for example, in this case, I have a customer here that will pay invoices 2 days prior to due date, and they've entered a tokenized saved credit card on file against this auto pay rule. And basically, as soon as the invoice hits 2 days prior, in this example, this auto pay system will select that invoice and charge the credit card and clear that invoice within your AR system. This is very similar to what I do on a personal level for like my electricity bill or my water bill here at my home, where I have auto pay turned on. And as soon as that invoice is due, it just charges my credit card and obviously clears that invoice off with the electricity company or the water company. Same effect here, allows you to really establish rules on a customer by customer basis, depending on what you've negotiated with them, and then set those rules up so that cash continues to flow. Once those invoices come due or hit the rule, then those credit cards are automatically charged. So very interesting capabilities that we have to offer here. And as I mentioned earlier, we have many capabilities that I'm not going to be able, because of time, to be able to go through, including we provide payment reconciliation processes that allow you to pull back all of those settlements, as we saw, and even pull back the information from the merchant bank so that we can help you to settle and cross-reference all of these payments so that you have comfort that you've been paid for all of your credit card transactions and have reconciled them, and then obviously be able to monitor any differences because of timing or because of any other reason. And that guarantees you that every transaction that has been settled and charged out to the customer's credit card, you've received the funding on. So this allows you to set up payment reconciliation processes just like you do with your bank and other capabilities. We also have analysis reports that we provide that allow you to pull back information to analyze your credit card information that you have out there. We support returns processes. If you want to refund monies back to a credit card via a return process that was originally done via or using a credit card on the original sales order. So we have a lot of different processes, as I mentioned. There's another couple of capabilities here that may be of interest. We have deposit capabilities and installment payment capabilities. If you are an organization that has long lead times or you manufacture to order and the customer wants to use a credit card, you can set up an installment plan where you take deposits every so often, every 30 days, a portion of the work that's already been completed to maintain, cash flowing, and also then, capture those funds. And then at the end, once you deliver the equipment, you capture the remaining balance or the last settlement. That way, you're not waiting to deliver everything to then try to retrieve funds for all of that work. As I mentioned earlier, we support backorder processes throughout the system. We have a complete collections management capability to help you collect on all your open AR invoices throughout the process. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight that with all of this, we also have a capability for your customers to self-service themselves. We have what's called a payment portal that again would be branded to your company standards, logo, colors, fonts, and so on, where your customers can self-service themselves, log in to this payment portal and view invoices, make payments on invoices, view order history, view different information via the payment portal to help your customer gain access to that information and be able to self-service themselves, maintaining their credit cards on file, their bank accounts on file, their open invoices, their sales orders, and whatever payment is due, so that they can easily and quickly, when invoices are coming due, select them for payment and charge a credit card and clear off those invoices. This is our e-payments solution that is part of our overall payments offering, allowing your customers to really self-service themselves and being able to process payments and view information on a 24/7 basis against your JD Edwards environment. Now, obviously, there's a lot of information I've shared, and you're probably going to want to even get a better understanding of all of the capabilities. I welcome you to go out and visit our website, smartercommerce.net. And within our website, if you go over to resources and product documentation, here you're going to find information and help across all of our solutions. We have many different solutions. Obviously, I focused just on the payments aspect, but we have an e-commerce solution, a retail point of sale and counter sale solution. We have a call center solution, and we have an alternative tax solution called Avalara Avatax, which is a cloud-based tax engine. But here you can go in and read all about our payment processing solution and all of the capabilities around credit cards, ACH, and alternative payments. And you can see all of the various capabilities that we have to offer, so that you can gain comfort that all of the scenarios that you're probably encountering today when you take credit cards are covered with our solution, and extend that capability in a much more thorough fashion. So with that, I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, and we only have 1 hour for this session. So I'm going to stop here and stop presenting for just a moment and return the presentation back to Jerry for closing comments and in case there's any last questions that we need to answer.
Diego, appreciate the walkthrough of all those different use cases. Just a couple of final comments here as we wrap up. Firstly, yes, this session has been recorded. It will be distributed to everybody that registered for this webinar. You can expect that outreach in the next couple of days. Appreciate all the questions that did come in from the audience. If you are interested in what you saw and you think it might be a good fit for your company, please go ahead and reach out to us. Complete the contact us form on our website. We'd love to get in touch, schedule a 30-minute conversation just to understand whether or not this would be an interesting fit for your company. No commitment necessary, obviously. Again, appreciate everybody's time here. Look forward to any follow-up conversations, and everybody have a great rest of your day. Take care.